Why do you compulsively check your social media? Why does that unanswered message burn like acid in your mind? Why do you lie about your life to seem more interesting? The answer is brutal and simple. You're desperate to be desired. But here's what Jung discovered that will chill you to the bone. The more you seek this validation, the more you destroy yourself from within. Right this moment, millions of people are sacrificing who they truly are just to extract a bit of attention from others. They don't know they're feeding an internal monster that Jung called the shadow. And this monster is hungry. It devours your authenticity, turns you into a puppet of other people's gazes, and worst of all, you think you're in control. What you're about to discover will completely change how you see your relationships, your choices, and especially the invisible cage you've built for yourself. Brace yourself. This truth is uncomfortable. There's a hole inside you that never gets filled. You know it's there. You feel it when you're alone, when the noise stops, when there's nothing to distract you from yourself. It sits in your chest like a weight, pressing down, making it hard to breathe. And what do? You run, you grab your phone, you scroll, you message someone, anyone. You fill the silence with anything but silence. Because that emptiness terrifies you more than anything else in this world. Jung understood this void better than anyone. He saw it in his patients, in himself, in every human being who walked through his door. This isn't just loneliness. It's deeper. It's the feeling that you don't exist unless someone else confirms it, unless someone sees you, wants you, acknowledges you. Without that external validation, you start to fade. At least that's what it feels like. Your sense of self becomes so fragile that it depends entirely on other people's reactions to you. Think about your last conversation. Were you really present, or were you performing? Were you calculating how you sounded, how you looked, whether they liked what you said? Most people spend their entire lives performing, never stopping to ask who they are when nobody's watching. The audience becomes more real than the actor, and the actor forgets they're acting at all. This hunger for recognition isn't new, it's ancient. But today, it's on steroids. Every platform, every app, every screen is designed to exploit this void. They know you're empty, they know you're searching, and they offer you a deal. Give us your attention, and we'll give you the illusion of being seen. A like, a comment, a heart emoji, tiny drops of validation that evaporate the moment you receive them, leaving you thirstier than before. Jung called this the inflation of the ego. When you base your worth on external approval, your ego inflates and deflates like a balloon at the mercy of every breeze. Someone praises you, you feel invincible. Someone ignores you, you crumble. You're not stable because your foundation is built on sand, on opinions, on the shifting moods of people who barely know you and care even less. But here's the twisted part. The more you chase this desire to be desired, the less desirable you become. People can smell desperation. They sense when you're trying too hard, when you're shape-shifting to fit their expectations. And they pull away. Not because you're bad or wrong, but because there's nothing authentic to hold on to. You've become a reflection of what you think others want, and reflections aren't interesting. They're hollow. The void grows because you're feeding it the wrong food. You think validation will fill it, but validation is junk food for the soul. It gives you a quick high followed by a crash that leaves you hungrier than before. And so you go back for more. And more. An endless cycle of consumption that never satisfies because it can't. Because what you're really hungry for isn't attention. It's connection, real connection. The kind that only happens when you stop performing and start existing. Jung spent years exploring the unconscious mind, diving into the darkest corners of human psychology. What he found was that this emptiness isn't a flaw. It's a signal. It's your psyche screaming at you to pay attention, not to others, to yourself. The void exists because you've abandoned yourself in pursuit of being someone others will desire. You've traded your soul for the possibility of applause. Every time you post something and wait anxiously for responses, you're asking the world to tell you that you matter. Every time you change your story to sound more impressive, you're begging for proof of your worth. Every time you feel that ache when someone doesn't text back, you're confronting the brutal truth. You don't believe in your own value. You need them to believe in it for you. This is the trap. The more you look outside for validation, the more the internal void expands. Because you're not filling it, you're avoiding it, you're covering it with noise and distraction and the temporary relief of being noticed. But underneath all that, the emptiness remains. Patient, waiting, growing. Until one day you realize you've spent your entire life seeking desire from everyone except the one person whose desire actually matters. Yourself. The scary part is how normal this has become. Walk into any room and count how many people are truly comfortable in their own skin. How many can sit with themselves without immediately reaching for their phone? How many can handle being alone without panic creeping in? The answer is almost none. We've built an entire civilization around avoiding this emptiness. We work ourselves to death. We drink, we binge shows, we date people we don't even like, we buy things we don't need. All to avoid sitting still and feeling that void staring back at us. Jung believed that facing this emptiness was the beginning of real transformation. Not running from it, not filling it with garbage, but turning toward it and asking what it wants from you. Because that void isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. It's showing you where you've lost yourself, where you've given your power away to anyone willing to give you a crumb of attention. It's pointing to the parts of you that you've neglected, ignored, buried alive in your desperate attempt to be loved by people who will never know the real you. The brutal truth is this: you can spend your entire life collecting admirers and still die feeling empty. Because admiration from others can never fill a hole that only self-acceptance can close. You can be desired by 1,000 people and still feel worthless if you don't desire yourself, if you don't look in the mirror and genuinely like who's staring back. Not the filtered version, not the performance, the real, messy, imperfect human being underneath all the masks. This is where the journey begins. In that uncomfortable space where you stop running and start feeling, where you stop asking others to complete you and start completing yourself, where you stop measuring your worth by how many people want you and start asking whether you want you. Because until you do, that emptiness will follow you everywhere. No amount of likes, lovers, or applause will ever be enough. The void will remain, hungry, waiting, demanding that you finally come home to yourself. You wake up and immediately become someone else. Before your feet hit the floor, you're already deciding which version of yourself you'll present to the world today. The confident one, the successful one, the one who has it all together. You don't even realize you're doing it anymore. The mask has fused to your face so completely that you've forgotten what's underneath. Jung called this the persona, and he warned that it would destroy you if you let it. The persona isn't evil. It's necessary. You need it to function in society, to have a job, to navigate relationships. But somewhere along the way, you stopped using it as a tool and started believing it was you. You became the role instead of the person playing the role, and now you're trapped inside a character you created to make other people comfortable, to make them want you, to make them think you're worth their time. Watch yourself throughout the day. Notice how you change depending on who's in the room. With your boss, you're professional and agreeable. With your friends, you're fun and carefree. With your family, you're dutiful and responsible. With strangers online, you're witty and enviable. Which one is real? The answer terrifies you. None of them are. They're all masks, and behind them is someone you haven't met in years. This constant shape-shifting exhausts you, but you can't stop, because stopping means showing people who you really are. And who you really are might not be enough. They might not like the real you. They might not want you. So you keep performing, Keep adjusting, keep molding yourself into whatever shape you think will earn their desire. You're a sculptor working on a statue that never quite looks right because you're using other people's eyes instead of your own. Jung discovered that people who over-identify with their persona develop a specific kind of suffering. They feel fake, hollow, like they're watching their own life from outside their body. They achieve success, but it feels meaningless. They have relationships, but feel utterly alone, because nobody knows them. How could they? You've shown them everything except the truth. You've given them a perfect performance and hidden the performer. The tragedy is that the things you hide are often the things that make you human. Your doubts, your fears, your weird interests that don't fit your image. The dark thoughts you think everyone would judge you for. The vulnerabilities that make you feel weak. You bury all of this beneath layers of acceptable behavior, never realizing that these hidden pieces are what create real connection. People don't fall in love with masks. They fall in love with the cracks where the real person shines through, but you can't risk it. What if they see your flaws and leave? What if your anxiety shows and they think you're broken? What if you admit you don't know what you're doing and they lose respect for you? So you tighten the mask, make it thicker, more convincing. You become an expert at hiding, and with every layer you add, you disappear a little more. The person underneath suffocates while the mask thrives, growing stronger, more elaborate, more distant from anything true. Social media has turned this into an art form. You curate your life like a museum exhibit, every photo carefully chosen, every caption precisely crafted, every post designed to project an image of someone living their best life, someone who's happy, successful, loved, desired. The gap between the image and reality grows wider every day. You post about your amazing relationship while lying in bed next to someone you barely talk to anymore. You share your career wins while drowning in debt and anxiety. You smile in every picture while crying in every mirror. The mask demands constant maintenance. You can't let it slip. One wrong post, one honest moment, one glimpse of the real struggle, and the whole illusion collapses. So you work harder, you filter more, you hide better. You become a professional fake, so skilled at deception that you've deceived yourself. You look at your own feed and think that person has it together. You forget that you staged every single image. Jung warned that when the persona becomes too rigid, when you identify with it completely, something dangerous happens. The parts of yourself that don't fit the mask don't just disappear. They go underground. They become the shadow. All your rejected qualities, your unacceptable desires, your forbidden thoughts, they gather in the darkness of your unconscious. And they wait. They grow. They gain power. Until one day they explode in ways you can't control. You see this everywhere. The perfect parent who suddenly abandons their family. The devoted partner who has an affair. The successful professional who has a breakdown. The friendly neighbor who snaps. These aren't random events. They're the shadow breaking free from years of suppression. The real self demanding to be seen after being denied for too long. The mask cracking under pressure it was never meant to bear. The exhaustion you feel isn't just physical, it's the exhaustion of pretending, of holding yourself together, of never relaxing into who you actually are, because who you actually are isn't allowed. Every conversation becomes a performance. Every interaction becomes a test. Every moment becomes another opportunity to prove you're worthy of being desired. And you're so busy performing that you never stop to ask whether being desired for a lie is worth more than being rejected for the truth. Here's what nobody tells you. The people who truly matter will love you more when you drop the mask. Not less. More. Because finally, they'll see something real, something they can actually connect with. The ones who leave when you show your truth weren't connected to you anyway. They were connected to your performance, and losing fans of your performance makes room for lovers of your reality. But dropping the mask feels like death, because in a way, it is. It's the death of the false self. The death of the character you've invested years building. The death of the image you thought would finally make you enough. Jung understood this terror. He knew that individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, requires killing off the versions of yourself that aren't real. And killing anything, even a lie, hurts. The question is whether you're willing to hurt in the service of truth or continue hurting in the service of lies. Because both paths involve pain. One pain leads to freedom. The other leads to a lifetime of feeling like a stranger in your own life. You can keep the mask on. You can keep performing. You can keep seeking desire from people who will never know you. Or you can take the terrifying step of showing your face, your real face, the one that's been hiding in the dark, the one that's been waiting for permission to exist, the one that's been desperate not to be desired by everyone, but to be known by someone, starting with you. The betrayal happens so slowly you don't notice it. One small compromise, one tiny adjustment, one little lie. You tell yourself it doesn't matter, it's just this once, it's just to keep the peace, it's just to make them happy. But each compromise is a brick in the wall between you and yourself. And before you know it, you can't see yourself anymore. You've become a stranger built from other people's expectations. You betray yourself every time you say yes when you mean no. Every time you laugh at jokes that aren't funny, every time you pretend to like things you hate, every time you hide your opinion because it might cause conflict, every time you shrink yourself to fit into spaces that are too small. These aren't noble sacrifices, they're tiny deaths. Each one kills a piece of who you are, and you do it willingly because you think it will make them want you more. By the way, if you're curious to go even deeper and integrate your shadows and light, check out the Sim Method ebook. It's a concise guide that can help you unlock your inner power in just 5 minutes a day. The link is in the first pinned comment below. Jung saw this pattern everywhere, people abandoning their own nature to become what others demand. Children betraying their true interests to please parents, adults betraying their dreams to meet society's definition of success, partners betraying their needs to avoid abandonment, everyone shape-shifting, everyone compromising, everyone slowly disappearing into roles they never chose. And the worst part? You think this makes you good, flexible, easy to love, when really it makes you invisible. The mechanism is simple but devastating. You notice what gets rewarded, which behaviors earn smiles, approval, affection, which versions of yourself make people lean in instead of pull away. And you amplify those parts. You become more of what works and less of what doesn't. It's basic conditioning. But what works for getting desire isn't the same as what works for being yourself. Those two things are often opposites. Maybe you were loud and wild as a child, but that got you in trouble. So you learned to be quiet, to take up less space, to control your energy. Now you're an adult and you've forgotten how to be loud. The wild part of you is buried so deep you think it's gone, but it's not gone. It's trapped, screaming silently behind the calm exterior you present to the world. The exterior that makes people comfortable. The exterior that betrays everything you naturally were. Or maybe you were sensitive and emotional, but that was seen as weakness. So you built walls. You learned to intellectualize everything, to analyze instead of feel, to be strong instead of soft. Now you can't access your emotions even when you want to. You've become so good at betraying your sensitivity that it doesn't trust you anymore. It stays hidden, protected. While you walk through life numb, wondering why nothing feels real. This self-betrayal creates a specific kind of suffering. You get what you wanted. People desire the version of yourself you've presented. They like you. They want to be around you. Maybe they even love you. But it doesn't feel good, because they don't love you. They love the mask. They love the performance. They love the carefully edited version you've shown them. And you know it. Deep down, you know that if they saw the real you, the messy one, the flawed one, the one that doesn't fit their expectations, they might leave. So you're trapped. You can't relax. You can't be yourself. You have to maintain the lie. Every day becomes an act of self-betrayal. You police your words, your actions, your thoughts. You monitor yourself constantly, making sure nothing real slips through. It's exhausting. But you think the alternative is worse. You think being alone is worse than being with people who don't actually know you. So you keep betraying yourself over and over until you forget what you're even betraying. Jung called this living in bad faith, going against your own nature, denying your instincts, suppressing your truth. He believed this was the root of most psychological suffering, not trauma, not hardship, but the slow, constant betrayal of self in service of being accepted. The soul knows when you're lying. It feels the betrayal, and it rebels in the form of anxiety, depression, rage, numbness, all the symptoms you try to fix with therapy and medication when the real cure is simple. Stop betraying yourself. But simple doesn't mean easy, because stopping the betrayal means risking everything. It means saying what you really think and watching people react. It means doing what you actually want and facing judgment. It means showing your true feelings and accepting that some people will find them too much. It means being yourself fully and discovering who stays and who goes. That's terrifying, because you've built your entire life around people who only like the fake version. The betrayal extends to your desires too. You've learned which desires are acceptable and which aren't. So you bury the unacceptable ones. You pretend you don't want what you want. You convince yourself you're happy with what you have. But your real desires don't disappear. They ferment, they twist, they show up in strange ways, in fantasies you're ashamed of, in sudden impulses you can't explain, in a vague dissatisfaction that colors everything. You betray your anger by being nice. You betray your sadness by being strong. You betray your joy by being appropriate. You betray your sexuality by being modest. You betray your ambition by being humble. You betray your needs by being low maintenance. Every emotion, every desire, every authentic impulse gets filtered through the question, will this make them want me? And if the answer is no, you betray it. You push it down. You deny it exists. The relationship you have with yourself becomes abusive. You abandon yourself constantly. You ignore your own signals. You override your instincts. You force yourself to endure things that hurt you, all because you're terrified of not being desired. You've made other people's desire more important than your own integrity, and integrity is exactly what you've lost. The integration of all your parts, the alignment between inner and outer, the coherence of being the same person in every situation. Jung believed the path to wholeness required ending this betrayal. It required bringing the rejected parts back into consciousness, acknowledging the desires you've denied, expressing the emotions you've suppressed, speaking the truths you've hidden, not to punish yourself or others, but to become whole again, to integrate the fragments, to stop being at war with yourself. This doesn't mean being reckless. It doesn't mean vomiting your every thought onto everyone around you. It means developing the courage to be authentic, even when it's uncomfortable. To honor your no's as much as your yeses. To take up the space you actually need instead of shrinking into the space others are comfortable giving you. To let people see you, really see you, and trust that the right ones will stay. The betrayal of self is the price you pay for trying to be universally desired. But universal desire is impossible. And even if it were possible, it would be worthless. Because if everyone wants you, it means you're not really you anymore. You're a mirror reflecting back whatever each person wants to see. You're nobody. And being nobody, even if nobody is desired by everyone, is the ultimate betrayal. The one you'll regret on your deathbed, when you realize you spent your entire life being someone else, someone who was wanted by people who never actually knew you. while the real you died quietly in the dark, unwanted, unseen, betrayed by the only person who could have saved it. There's something living inside your phone. It knows you better than you know yourself. It knows exactly what will make you pick up the screen, exactly what will keep you scrolling, exactly what will make you crave more. This isn't an accident. This is design. And you're not the customer. You're the product. Your attention is being harvested, packaged, and sold. And in exchange, you get something that feels like desire, but tastes like poison. Every notification is a hit of dopamine. Every like is a small validation that you exist. Every comment is proof that someone out there sees you, and your brain lights up exactly the way it does with drugs. The same neural pathways, the same chemical rush, the same pattern of craving, consumption, and crash. You've become addicted to the feeling of being desired, and technology has turned that addiction into a business model worth billions. Jung never saw social media, but he would have recognized it immediately. He would have seen it for what it truly is, a machine that weaponizes your deepest insecurities. It takes your need to be seen, your fear of being forgotten, your desperate hunger for validation, and it turns those vulnerabilities into profit. It feeds the monster inside you, the one that measures your worth by numbers, the one that can never get enough, the one that's eating you alive from the inside. You post a photo, now you wait, you check once, twice, 10 times, 20, each time hoping the numbers have grown, hoping more people have noticed you. When the likes come in, you feel relief, brief, fleeting relief. You matter, you exist, people care, but the feeling evaporates almost instantly, and you're left hungry again. So you start planning the next post, the next performance, the next desperate bid for attention from people you've never met and never will. The cruelty is in the intermittent reinforcement. Sometimes your posts blow up, sometimes they die. You never know which will happen. And that uncertainty keeps you hooked more than consistent rewards ever could. It's the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. The random chance of winning, the possibility that this time, this post, this version of yourself might finally be enough, might finally get you the validation you're dying for. But here's what's actually happening. Every time you post, you're fracturing yourself. You're splitting into two people. The one living your life and the one documenting it for consumption. You're no longer present in your experiences. You're already thinking about how they'll look on screen, how many likes they'll get, what caption will perform best. You're living your life as content. Every moment becomes material. Every experience becomes an opportunity to be desired. The monster grows stronger with each feed. It starts to control you. You go places not because you want to, but because they'll make good posts. You do things not because they bring you joy, but because they'll impress your audience. You date people who look good in photos. You buy things you can't afford to maintain an image. You smile when you're dying inside because the show must go on. The performance never stops, and behind the scenes, you're collapsing. Jung understood that the psyche needs integration, not fragmentation. It needs all parts of yourself working together, communicating, cooperating. But social media creates radical fragmentation. Your online self becomes more real than your actual self. You invest more energy into your digital persona than into your lived experience. You know more about your analytics than your own emotions. You can tell your engagement rate, but you can't tell what you actually feel. The comparison is relentless and brutal. Every time you scroll, you see someone with more. More followers, more likes, more comments, more success, more beauty, more life. And your brain doesn't know these are highlights. It doesn't know these are carefully curated lies. It just knows you're not measuring up. You're falling behind. You're not enough. So you try harder, you post more, you perform better, you chase the numbers that will never satisfy because they can never fill the hole they're making bigger. Your self-worth becomes completely external. It rises and falls with metrics you can't control. A bad day online feels like a bad life. A post that flops feels like personal failure. You start to believe the numbers are telling you something true about your value as a human being. 10 likes means you're worthless, 100 means you're okay, 1,000 means you're finally somebody. The insanity of measuring a soul in likes and shares doesn't even register anymore. It's just how things are. The monster demands sacrifice, time, energy, attention, authenticity. You give it everything. You sacrifice real conversations for online interactions. You sacrifice genuine experiences for photogenic moments. You sacrifice deep relationships for broad networks. You sacrifice knowing yourself for crafting a brand. And the monster is never satisfied. It always wants more content, more engagement, more of you, until there's nothing left but an empty shell performing for strangers. The withdrawal is real. Try to stop. Try to delete the apps. Watch what happens. The anxiety floods in, the fear that you're missing something, the panic that people will forget you exist, the terror of being invisible. You last a day, maybe two. Then you're back, checking, scrolling, posting, feeding the monster because starving it feels like death. But here's the truth that will set you free if you let it. Those numbers mean nothing. The likes, the followers, the comments, they're all empty. They're not real connection. They're not real love. They're not real desire. They're illusions created by algorithms designed to keep you addicted. The people double-tapping your photo don't know you. They don't care about you. They're scrolling past you to the next image in seconds. Your momentary entertainment, disposable content, and you've built your entire sense of worth on that. The monster that feeds on likes isn't just in your phone, it's in your mind. It's the part of you that believes your value comes from outside, that you need to be desired by masses to matter, that popularity equals worth, that attention equals love. Jung would tell you this monster is your shadow wearing a glamorous mask. It's your insecurity, your fear, your desperate need for belonging, dressed up as ambition and social success. Killing this monster doesn't mean deleting your accounts, though that might help. It means changing your relationship with desire itself. It means learning to want your own approval more than anyone else's. It means measuring your worth by internal metrics, integrity, growth, authenticity, peace. Things that can't be quantified, things that can't be liked or shared, things that are real. The choice is yours. Keep feeding the monster and watch it devour everything authentic about you, or starve it and discover who you are when nobody's watching.